Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Hart going to be breaking down this 10-game NBA slate here on DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite early look core plays, as well as building a potential lineup around those core plays, going through my build process, all that good stuff in this game by game breakdown. So make sure to hit that like button as it does really help on my channel. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the breakdown. As always, make sure to check out my free Patreon link down below. That is right, it's 100% free. So you can find that in the description link down below, as well as on my Twitter. But as you can see here, I go through the key injury news. I go game by game breakdown, highlighting the players in bold, talking through, the players, my options, pivot plays, all the good stuff, game total, spread, all that good stuff is in there as well. Slate thoughts, really look top options where I talk through them, player pool, building blocks. Going to be adding more to this here as well over the course of the rest of the season for the NBA. So a lot of good stuff there. Once again, 100% free. As well as I got a new mic, so it should be top of line quality from here on out for the rest of the NBA season moving forward. Super pumped and excited about that. Can't wait. Going to be fine tuning it here over the next few videos, so bear with me if there's anything, if it's a little bit too quiet at times or if there's some pops. But yeah, going to be amazing video quality moving forward here with the mic. And then soon I'm going to get a top tier quality camera to really, push for the best quality content for you guys here. So super pumped about this mic. Can't wait to continue using it and just adjusting it from here on out. But for this 10-game slate, we're going to start off with Chicago and Toronto. First here, we have Vucevic, 8-8, Zach LaVine, 8-4, DeRozan, 7-7. So out of the big three for the Bulls, favorite one is going to be DeMar DeRozan. I still think he's a little bit too cheap here. I should play 35 minutes or more in a close game. He's the best offensive player on the Bulls. He's kind of been going under the radar the past week or two just because he's been out some games. Vooch has stepped up. Zach LaVine stepped up. But in this matchup, revenge game narrative, I think DeMar is the one that stands out for me on this team. Other than that, there's really no standouts. Sure, you could get to a Caruso here at 3,500. He's been starting. Should see mid-20s minutes if he's doing well, maybe a little bit more. Where is he? Pat Bev is there, 3,300. He's seen mid-20s minutes as well. Just not super, super involved. Both of them are just pretty, they're pretty scoring dependent. You really need them to hit a few shots, a few threes, and really need them to do well defensively, get some steals, some blocks. Otherwise, they're kind of going to screw you. And with the value on the slate today, I don't think there's a need to pay down for these two guards. Drummond's there, backup center, maybe sees mid-teens minutes. Always a chance he doesn't play, but yeah, he's there if you want to go to him. Moving on to Toronto. So on the Toronto side, we have Pascal and Fred VanVleet at the top leading this team. Now that Fred is back, everyone's just more secondary options with me. It'll be interesting to see who they slide to the bench, whether that's Gary Trent or maybe it's Jakob Poeltl. I'm assuming right now it's going to be Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench. They'll start, Pascal, VanVleet, Barnes, Poeltl, and OG. And with that, there's really no standouts. I mean, sure, Pascal's still a solid spin-up contrarian option. We know he's a ceiling. Poeltl, I think he looks pretty solid as well. Should see, close to 30 minutes if there's no foul trouble in a close game. He's been pretty productive when he's out there. So I think for right now, Poeltl is probably my favorite play, but no early core plays for me on this side with kind of everyone back and healthy, even though it's a good matchup versus Bulls. For the Lakers, obviously LeBron's out. Rest of the team should be good to go. Besides D'Lo, he's also out. So that means Anthony Davis is going to be the leader of this team. It's going to be hard not playing him here. Now, there is blowout risk. I think it's like a 9.5 point spread. But as we saw earlier in the season when it was Anthony Davis's team, I think it was this stretch here. He went for, as you can see, 56, 63, 70, 64, 84, 57, 58, 52, 71, 85. I mean, the man was playing the best player in the league. He was seeing close to 40 minutes. I mean, they're going to need that from him. He's going to hopefully should shoot at least 15, if not 20 plus times. They're going to have to ride him into the ground, which is tough because he's a guy who's super foul prone, or excuse me, super injury prone, and he could definitely get injured. But I mean, if they want to make it to the playoffs and have any chance of LeBron coming back and helping them make a playoff run, they're going to have to rely upon Anthony Davis, even though they did get some other guys. They should feed Anthony Davis the ball. So obviously there's a risk of a blowout. There's a risk of Anthony Davis maybe deferring a little bit to these other guys, having them step up. But I think Anthony Davis obviously going to be a super popular option today. I think he still is very, very solid. At 10-3, should assume all the usage, the huge role in the offense with LeBron being out. And that means guys like Dennis Schroeder should, step up and start. He should play mid-30s minutes. We've seen him had some pretty big games here without LeBron, so we know he's a very solid option there, 4,900. Malik Beasley going to be another option. Played 34 minutes. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. I think he's a very, very solid value alongside Dennis Schroeder. Vanderbilt as well. I mean, all three of these guys are going to be super, super popular. The whole Laker team is going to be super, super popular. Right now, obviously, Anthony Davis is my favorite. I think my second favorite out of that group probably would be Schroeder or Vanderbilt. Beasley is kind of, too score independent at times. He doesn't have a good shooting game. He's not a guy who's going to go out there and get you a ton of blocks, steals, or rebounds, assists. So I think he's my least favorite, but they all look great, great value plays for today. Hachimura, if he starts, you can definitely look to him. He's been pretty disappointing since joining the Lakers, but he does have a ceiling. And then you can look to Austin Reeves. Maybe they start smaller, go to him off the bench. Maybe he sees, maybe he solidifies mid-20s, maybe into the 30s if he's doing well. You can always take a dart throw on him, but right now it's kind of just the main starters for the Lakers side that look fantastic. So I'm going to put in, I think right now I'm just going to throw in Vanderbilt and Schroeder, and then we'll kind of see at the end how the lineup's looking. But yeah, right now, liking those guys. For Memphis, I like Ja. I like Bane. I think they're, solid contrarian spin up options, especially Bane here. Very, very good matchup. Not really sure who's going to be able to guard him or check him, but I really like him there at 7,700. Rest of the team, Tillman and Clark going to split the backup center minutes, or excuse me, the center minutes. Tillman will probably start. Clark will come off the bench. I think he looks like a decent contrarian option. Brooks 4,200. I guess a value play. You can look to him, but not a lot to like here from Memphis besides the main two guys. I will mention, Triple J always has a ceiling, but 7,700 feels a little bit too pricey for me. Moving on to Washington. Porzingis is doubtful. Morris is out. We got that news. So going to be Kuzma, Beal, Denny, Gafford, and DeLon Wright starting with Kispert, Nunn, Taj, Gill, even Jeff Goodwin coming off the bench. I think Kuzma and Beal look, like great plays. I prefer getting to Kuzma. There's, games even with one of the big guys being out, Beal kind of takes a back seat. He's been more aggressive recently, so I think he's been more consistent and solid. So I don't mind him, but I still prefer going to Kuzma here. Denny, I think he looks really, really solid there at 5,100. He's another guy who can stuff the stat sheet. He should be more involved offensively. Should see at least 30 plus minutes here if the game stays close and he's doing well. So I like both of them a lot here. I think they both look great. Gafford looks really good as well, 4,500. The issue with him is he's just super foul prone. So if he gets in foul trouble, he can easily screw you and just lose a ton of minutes. So that's for Gafford. I mean, DeLon Wright looks solid as well, 4,500. Another decent pivot play off like the chalky Lakers if you don't want to go with Dennis Schroeder. You can definitely load up on DeLon Wright, who's not as good of a scorer, but you can definitely fill up the stat sheet defensively with Monte Morris being ruled out. And then you could definitely take a shot on like a guy like Kendrick Nunn, who sees probably mid-teens, maybe closer to 20. Jordan Goodwin was the backup point guard last game, saw 19 minutes. He was super productive in limited minutes at the beginning of the season. So you always take that dart throw on him. I will mention him, but yeah, a good amount of interest in the Washington side. Atlanta side, another great matchup here for Atlanta. Trae Young looks solid. DeJounte Murray, I think he stands out at his price tag. We know he has a very solid ceiling. Should be able to get his way with the Washington team. Capella's there. Hunter's there. John Collins is there. I think John Collins kind of stands out to me as price tag potential ceiling. But yeah, no real standouts besides Trae Young and DeJounte to me. I think they both look like solid contrarian options at their price tags. Moving on to Milwaukee and Brooklyn. Milwaukee side, not a lot to like here. If you want to pay up for Giannis, sure you can do it, 12-3, but everyone's kind of just priced about right for me on this side. Bobby Portis does have upside in tournaments, so I'll mention him even in limited minutes. Middleton there, 6,400, still not seeing 30 plus minutes, even though he's been super productive. It's just a team more of secondary options. If you land on them, sure. Moving on to Brooklyn, I do have interest in Bridges, Dinwiddie, Claxton, and Cam Johnson. Pretty much the whole starting five here. I think Cam Thomas did come off the bench. They started DFS, but yeah, I think the starting five looks decent. Mikal Bridges has seen a ton of minutes. He's been super aggressive. He's going to be their main scorer. So I think he looks solid at 7,300. Same thing with Dinwiddie. There's been times where he's been not aggressive, but he should see big minutes. He should be heavily involved in this offense. So I think they all look pretty solid. There are no real standouts, but I think they're all pretty solid plays if you land on them. Cam Johnson obviously is the most score independent, but he still has a ceiling as well. They're all seeing a ton of minutes. Cam Thomas, another score independent guard, maybe gets a little bit more run in if the game blows out than other guys would. So yeah, a good amount of interest in these secondary options for Brooklyn. Moving on to Sacramento and OKC. On the Sacramento side, I think Sabonis looks very, very solid at 98. Fox is questionable. If he's out, most likely they will start. Where is he? David Mitchell, who's been god awful this year. You could definitely go to him at the flat minimum price tag. But there is that chance he goes out there and scores like 10 fantasy points in like 25, 30 minutes. But, he's there. They will probably play Dellavedova maybe 10, 15 minutes if Fox is out and David Mitchell starts. They'll just throw a bunch of guys in there. So right now, the only standouts for me are going to be Sabonis and then maybe Monk. If Fox is out, if Fox is in, still I think Sabonis is solid. Monk is a decent tournament option. The rest of the guys are just secondary options. You can always look to Davian, or where's he? Where'd he go? Terrence Davis, if Monk's out, he does get usage. He has started a few games with Monk being out, so you can definitely look to him. But no real standouts on Sacramento as of right now. For OKC, I hate Josh Giddey. 19.5, 34. Both games without SGA, really, you're just going to be that bad. And he's been decently low ownership as well. It just doesn't make sense. But once again, great matchup here. No SGA. I think, Josh Giddey looks like a very, very strong play. Same thing with Jalen Williams. It should be super involved. Lillard's price came up to 5,000. I think he still has a ceiling there with SGA out. He should be aggressive. Isaiah Joe, if he starts, he's score independent. But, if he's going to see 25, 30 minutes, he could definitely get you there. Don't feel confident in him, especially if he's going to be super, super high owned. I'll definitely fade him again. And then in terms of the bigs, Kendrick Williams is probably the most productive, but the minutes aren't always a guarantee. Jalen Williams is there. It's just really kind of the starters for me, and that's it. Moving on to Denver and Houston. If you think this game stays close, obviously it's a great, great matchup here for Denver. Jokic looks fantastic as a spend up. You just hope this game stays close. Jamal Murray is questionable. He might not be able to play. Aaron Gordon, I think he should be good to go. Yeah, he should be good to go here versus Denver. So right now, with Murray questionable, if he's out, you'll get Bruce Brown most likely starting. Maybe Reggie Jackson does. We'll have to wait and see. But if Bruce Brown starts because Murray's out, I do really like getting to Reggie Jackson. Bruce Brown's been super, super disappointing. You can definitely still play him. He should see mid-20s, maybe into the low 30s minutes. He really hasn't been good at all, spot starting for Jamal Murray this season since like the first month. So I'd rather get to Reggie Jackson, a little bit cheaper, should be a little bit more aggressive, just overall better point guard playmaker than Bruce Brown as of right now. And then I think I do have a good amount of interest in Aaron Gordon. It's not a great price tag, but people don't realize this, but Jokic and Aaron Gordon are the top, duo when it comes to assists in the league. Jokic pretty much only throws to Aaron Gordon. That's why they're leading the league in assists in that duo. So I do like Aaron Gordon as like a very, very contrarian play. As you can see, he does have a huge ceiling. And obviously, he flashes it mostly when Jokic is not in. But I do think he could be a very sneaky play here in a fantastic matchup who should absolutely bully this Rockets. Him and Jokic should have their way. So I think Jokic and Gordon look great. If Murray does play, I think, Murray, Jokic, and Gordon are all fair secondary options. You just hope this game stays close. Moving on to Houston. Not a lot to like here. Green, Porter Jr. most likely back. So that means Sengun. Those guys are all they're there. No real standouts. If you want to get to someone, I'd say maybe Green. But that's really it. Moving on to Indiana and Dallas. Indiana side, Haliburton, Turner, Hield. Really my only interest, with most likely being in Turner and Haliburton. I think they look fine. Buddy's there. He's a GPP option. He's just been super, super inconsistent. I think Naismith does have some interest for me as value play there at 4,200. If he stays out of foul trouble, he should see close to 30 minutes. He could definitely pay off his price tag. And then Daniel Tice, playing mid-teens, maybe closer to 20, depending on how Turner's doing. He's been productive as well. So he's definitely there as a value play. Seems a little bit forced, but you can definitely go to him. On the Dow side, really, it's only going to be Luka and Kyrie for me. I do have a good amount of interest in Christian Wood. The minutes haven't been great. As you can see, barely getting over 20 minutes, even though he's been pretty productive. But if it's one of those things where he gets close to 30 minutes because he's doing very well and they extend him, I mean, this guy could easily go for like 50, 60 fantasy points at 6,500 and absolutely just nuke the slate. So I think I might get risky and throw him in my lineup. We'll have to wait and see. The minutes aren't great. He could definitely go out there and play 20 minutes and get you 10 fantasy points, but he's one of those guys who can go absolutely nuclear in this matchup. So I do really like Christian Wood here. San Antonio side, Vassell's still out. Trey Jones is questionable. I think he might play. If he does, it probably knocks Branham out of the starting lineup, or it might knock Bates Diop out of the starting lineup. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, obviously the starters are going to be Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins, and then if Trey Jones is back, to be Trey Jones, Sohan, and then either they're going to go smaller with Branham as like the shooting guard, or they'll go bigger with like Bates Diop. I'm assuming they go a little bit smaller. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, that's kind of the news there. The standouts for me is Zach Collins, Branham. Trey Jones looks fine if he plays and is not on a minutes limit. Sohan is a GPP upside. If Trey Jones is out, Graham should most likely start or come off the bench. I think he'd be my favorite play on this side. Bates Diop, so they're all just like strong secondary options. I will mention Bassie as well. They're all kind of there, but it really just depends on Trey Jones. Obviously, hopefully we get the news soon. Otherwise, we're kind of have to, either going to be sharp. You play for the fact that Trey Jones might be out. Those other guys get a minutes bump and usage bump, or Trey Jones is in, and it kind of downgrades all the rest. But yeah, moving on to Utah. I think it's a great matchup here. Laurie looks like a great contrarian spin-up option. No Clarkson. Kessler looks solid there. He still has upside, even though his price tag has risen. I don't like him as much, but I think he's still a decent play. Horton Tucker should be super, super chalky. Should see 30-plus minutes if the game stays close. He's pretty foul-prone at times, but we know he's a massive ceiling if he hit his shots. He's great at getting rebounds, great at getting assists, can get steals and blocks. He can stuff the stat sheet. So really like him there, even at that elevated price tag of $5,900. I think Olenek looks decent as well. Off the bench, we should get Chris Dunn, most likely starting at point guard, 3,600. He looks very solid, or I don't think he would start, but maybe he still comes off the bench. He's at least 15 minutes, maybe 20 plus. He did really, really solid last game. I'm assuming he's going to be super, super popular and chalky, just people are going to box score watch, but he is a pretty productive guard. So I do like him a good amount there. And then OG, he'll get some, Abaji, I should say. We'll get some run there, but he's super, super score independent. Now on to the last two games here. On the Minnesota side, Anthony Edwards looks solid. He had a terrible game last game. Rudy Gobert should be good to go. I think he looks okay. Don't really love, this team with kind of Rudy Gobert back. It doesn't really change anything usage-wise. It's just not the best matchup. Anthony Edwards is priced about right. Rudy's kind of priced up. Conley's there. Anderson's kind of right there. So it's like really no standouts to me on this Minnesota side. Moving on to the Clippers, I think it's a great price tag for Kawhi. Same thing with Paul George. Russ looks okay. Zubac, you can always take a dart throw on him in tournaments. If he's out, you could look to Plumlee, but they have been closing smaller with a guy like Batum, who looks like an okay value if you think they're going to close small once again. But yeah, not a lot of standouts besides kind of the main two for me. And you can always take those dart throws in GPP settings for like a guy like Powell, a Plumlee, and a Batum there. Moving on to the last game here, Portland, Golden State, another fantastic game. Could be an absolute late night hammer. Dame, obviously, this man is pretty much scoring at will. He's averaging like 75 fantasy points a game, 9,000 points, real life points a game as well. As you can see, the past month, this dude just goes crazy. So, looks like one of the best spend up, super score independent. But this man is just going for 75 real life points a game. So, I think he looks fantastic in this matchup here against Golden State, even with Draymond potentially back. Grant's there, should be the secondary option, even though no one really did anything that last game because Dame went for 71. Nurkic maybe back, doesn't look like it. Oh, yeah, he's out. So we'll get Eubanks and Watford splitting the center run. The wings, they're playable, but no one really stands out. Would rather get two other value who are way more productive, unless you're trying to get contrarian. And moving on to Golden State, really, this dude was 5% owned in my GPP, and he shoots 5 of 20. Super frustrating there, but he looks great still with no Steph, with no Wiggins. He should still be the lead offensive-wise. I do like Clay a good amount here. He shoots the ball a ton. He averages like 26 points per game without Steph this season. As you can see, he's huge upside, even though he's pretty score independent. So I do really like Clay here at 8,100 in this matchup. Draymond should be back. I think he's priced about right. But we know he's a pretty solid upside and ceiling there. DiVincenzo looks solid. But maybe his minutes drop down a little bit. Maybe he's closer to 30 instead of 35 with a guy like Draymond Green most likely back. He should take some assist potential away from a guy like DiVincenzo. Looney is there. Looks like an okay value play. And that's really it. I will mention Ty Jerome has seen some minutes. Kuminga and Looney should move back to the bench with Green back. So right now the standouts to me would be obviously Poole, Clay. Green looks pretty solid. DiVincenzo looks decent. And that's really it. So right now, I do think I'm throwing Clay. Actually, let's see if we can move some stuff around. We'll throw in Clay here, and then we'll throw Anthony Davis in at the center, and we'll review this lineup real fast. Let's go to Lakers, Anthony Davis, boom. So right now, this lineup, obviously, as you can see, we are really attacking kind of the chalky plays here with Dennis Schroeder starting for LeBron. He should be pretty productive. That's a very solid price tag to get him at. Horton Tucker with no Sexton, with no Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson should see huge upside and potential there. Kuzma with no Porzingis, no Monte Morris, should take a lead role when it comes to playmaking and scoring. Love that price there. Vanderbilt, obviously another super chalky Lakers piece. Same thing with Anthony Davis, but it's really hard not to get to these guys in this matchup and their price tags. Chris Dunn, another chalky piece. I don't love it. 3,600. He only saw 16 minutes first game, 20 the second. He was super productive, but at that price tag, you could definitely fade him. If he's going to be like 30+% owned, you could definitely get to other plays like a Terrence Davis, another play who, could see more minutes with Malik, or if, what's his name? If Donovan Mitchell is out, or not Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox is out, you get to a Ty Jerome has been seeing some minutes. Kobe White's there. He's mid-20s. Caruso. Alexander Walker's been seeing some minutes recently. I mean, there's some decent pivot plays. Or Reeves. There's some decent pivot plays off of, where is he? Chris Dunn. But for right now, we'll just leave him in for the sake of this video. But yeah, make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter. Hit that like button to finish it off. Obviously, we have Denny, like that spot there with no Porzingis, most likely, and no Monte Morris. And then Klay Thompson in that matchup. So I think this is another really solid lineup. The lineup from last night got super close to cashing. I think it was 6 points off. That's with a floor game from Tatum. LaMelo Ball getting Hurts, and Julius Randle have a floor game as well. So it would have been, it could have been a top tier lineup if those guys did well. All the other players did well in that lineup besides the main stars, which is super annoying, but that's kind of what the day was like yesterday. So that's the slate breakdown. Obviously a little bit longer one, but it is what it is. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.